thing like in a live demo, like with the help of like we can build something, inshallah, and we'll see how it goes. So let's begin. What is Git and GitHub? So Git is actually a version control system. Like for example, if you're working on let's say a document or let's say a code, and you like let's say you work on like on daily basis and you do some iterations. So the Git helps you to actually track those changes. And GitHub is a platform for code, so where you can like actually put your code. For example, if you're writing a research paper and you have written some codes, let's say in MATLAB or Python, and you want public to view it. For example, if they want to run your study, and so they can easily like go to your GitHub page where you have like you can host your all the like the code files with the README file as well. So how to run like for example those codes. On that you can also collaborate like with your team members as well. For example, if you're like you're working like let's say a big system, or even like for a research paper, so like you can do like one type of analysis, the other team member can do the other type of, like your co-author can do the other analysis, so you can collaborate like on that. You can push all those changes you GitHub. So it's like a very like a collaborative tool to actually to have like that a common platform where you can view those changes. And it's very like much in use like in academia and industry as well. So you can go to like github.com and you can see like I mean thousands or like even millions of code repositories. Like you can search and then you can like just get started right away. Another thing about the like so you can create an account on GitHub, and most recently with the development of LLM tools like ChatGPT and other, let's say Google Gemini and Claude Sonnet. They have introduced like a new extension that is called a GitHub Copilot, which actually acts as a co-pilot with you. So you are the main pilot who is the intended user, and then the co-pilot can help you like to get started, and they can help you like with various things. We'll see like what are like their capabilities. So it is developed by GitHub plus OpenAI and plus Microsoft. So GitHub is part of Microsoft. So they like actually do all the changes like within the GitHub project, and it's trained on the billions of lines of code, and then it can like do like various like tasks. We will see like what it can do actually. If we look at like the different levels of Copilot, so there's a free version which acts as like a code completion, like a limited functionality. Then there's a Copilot Pro, which is a paid version, I guess $10 per month, and then that gives you like access to the most recent like powerful models like ChatGPT 5 as well. And then specifically, I'm like interested, or I want to talk about the GitHub Education, which is a very cool thing offered by Microsoft, and it's free for the people like in academia. For example, if you're a student or a teacher in a university, you can apply for the GitHub Education, and then they can give you like access. So I've recently used that facility, and it's very simple. All they need is like your university or the institute's official email ID, where they can verify your credentials, and then afterwards you can upload like your student card or faculty card, and normally they take like 72 hours to approve your application. And once it's approved, so for example in my case it's approved like for 2 years now. So they give you like all the benefits of Copilot Pro in GitHub Education for free, so where you can access like the most like the recent like the updated powerful models quite easily. So I'll show you how you can apply for that as well. So here's the link. Then so the next thing is, so we know what GitHub is, what is GitHub Copilot, and then how to use it. So for example, if you want to build something, way to actually get started. So for that, we are going to take help like from the Visual Studio Code, which is another product of Microsoft. You can like there are other platforms as well. Like for example, if you're working in Python, so there's like an editor IDE, PyCharm. So you can integrate like your GitHub Copilot in that as well. But specifically for today's session, our focus will be on Visual Studio Code. It's a very powerful tool, and along with GitHub Copilot, it also offers like so many other things. For example, if you want to write code, let's say in C++, you can easily do it. If you want to, let's say, a code in Python, you can easily do it. and various like numerous other extensions. We're going to say it like shortly about how it works and how can we do it. So the idea is you're going to install Visual Studio Code in your system, and then there's a marketplace. Like for example, as we go like on let's say Google Play Store, we install different apps. So similarly, you can go to Visual Studio Code and you go to different extensions, and then over there you can just type, for example, you want let's say GitHub Copilot. You can type it out, and then it's going to show you the available options, and then you can just install it. And then once it's installed, now it's part of like your Visual Studio Code, and you can like easily integrate your workflow within like your Visual Studio. And then similarly, you can integrate or you can like link your Visual Studio Code with your GitHub profile. So for example, if you signed up like let's say for GitHub, and then you have applied for GitHub Education, so it is all linked with your Visual Studio. All you need to do is just to sign in using the same credentials, and then the system will auto recognize, and then they will give you the same access of the models data under Copilot Pro. So these are the links where you can like if you want to download Visual Studio Code, and then a bit of an overview of Copilot with Visual Studio Code. So let's talk about what GitHub Copilot can do. So there are like three functionalities. One is the ask. So for example, if you want to let's say build an app, you don't know where to start, or for example, let's say you're a beginner, let's say in Python, and you don't know where to start. So you say like, for example, normally you will go to Google and you say, okay, I want to write this function. What is the syntax for that? So ask is that basic functionality where you can ask the Copilot, so I want to implement this thing, where should I start? So that they give you like a basic template within your code editor, which is Visual Studio Code. Then the other option is the edit option. So for example, if you have written a code and you want to optimize it, for example, it's a sensitive application and you are like looking at it and you're saying, okay, it's taking too much time. So you can select the code and then use the edit option and say optimize it. So what the GitHub Copilot will do, it will look at like your code, and then if it is editable, like it will edit, and then it can show you like, okay, if we like, for example, declare variables like in a certain way, we can like improve the performance. And the third one, which is the most powerful one, which comes like under the GitHub Pro version, which is called the agent. So the agent means like, for example, you can just say, for example, I want to build this app, and you can specify the language as well, and then it will start everything on its own. It will create files, it will create a folder, and then it will like give you like a first demo, and then afterwards you can review it. If you say, okay, I approve it and I want like these further updates, so they like the agent can go into different files on its own and then make changes. And then, for example, if there are like some errors, or like, for example, if you're not able to view your output in a desired way, so the agent can do all the things on its own in multiple files. So it can do multitasking. And then once you're happy, you say, okay, I want to link it. Like, for example, you want to put it live, you can do it as well. So shortly, we're going to look at one of the examples. We can take help like from all these functions, like from ask, from edit, and then from agent as well, to see how they work. So what are the benefits? Again, it gives you like a platform for like faster prototyping. You can easily like, for example, lift off like from 0 to 1. For example, if you're staring like let's say a blank screen, which often is the case for let's say people in academia, often like when you're writing a code, you don't know where to start. So you can just right away ask like, okay, this is what I have in my mind. Let's start away. So the agent can start, or for example, you can take like help from the ask function as well. And then there are like bunch of like models available as well. So you don't have to rely just on one model. For example, if you're not comfortable, let's say with OpenAI models, you can let's say go to the Claude models, and then a bunch of like other options that are available within like your subscription or membership. And again, like for the students, I would say just experiment with it, and then you can build different prototypes, and it will be like a good learning experience. Okay, so how to get started? So first of all, we will sign up like on the GitHub, and then we can apply for the GitHub student or teacher pack. I'm going to show you like how you can do it, like using your own credentials, and it's very easy and it's free. I think we should all, like, for example, particularly from academia, we can just apply for it. This is for us. All you need is like your official email ID and a faculty card or a student card. Then you can install a Visual Studio Code, which is very easy to install. I've provided the link in one of the slides as well. So otherwise, you can just Google like install a Visual Studio Code on your machine, and it's very easy to set up. Then afterwards, we can install the Copilot extension within the Visual Studio Code. And then we can like start coding with AI models right away. On the final thoughts, I'll come back to it later. First, let's do a demonstration how this is all going to work. So this is github.com. So you can like sign up for that, and then you can sign in. Once you are signed in, so I assume like you have like an active account on GitHub. It is free. You don't have to pay anything. And then you go to the settings. And then in the settings, you can go to billing and licensing. I hope it's all visible. And then you can go to the education benefits. So this is like, so I've like created a test account particularly for this session. So you can like start your application. You say, okay, what is your role? For example, you say you are a student. For example, you are a teacher. And then you can type like you, for example, in my case, I'm saying I'm a teacher at Government College, University Faisalabad. So it's going to show me. So which means like GC University Faisalabad exists in their system, and then it will show you like you need to have this email ID so that you can apply for officially, and then similarly for the students as well. So you can like ask your IT coordinator like if you don't have the access for that, and then they're going to send you an email, and then you can verify, and then so obviously I've done this thing with my other account. So for example, I can show you that. So in this account, we have like actually linked my GCUF ID. So you can see, so over there, you will go to continue, you will share your location, and then you can put your, it will ask you like a bunch of questions. And then all you need to do is to put your like ID, some form of ID that can show you like you are part of that organization in a capacity as a student or as a teacher. And then once that is done, you can submit your credentials, and then it's going to take like 72 hours. And then afterwards, it is approved. It's going to show you like what are the benefits you're going to get out of it. So it's very easy. You don't need to like complicate things. Just set up like a simple account on GitHub and apply for the GitHub Education. And then they will process it, like it's all automatic. So it will take some time, like 72 hours, but it will be activated afterwards. Okay, and let's go to the second part. So for example, let's build something. So I hope the GitHub part is clear. This is, so for example, I can close all this. I can just say, so when you're going to open Visual Studio Code, so it's going to be like something like this. Okay, I don't want it. When you're going to install it, so first we are going to enable GitHub Copilot within the Visual Studio Code. So for that, we need to go into the extensions over here, like on the left side. And over here, you can just type Copilot. So it's going to show you GitHub Copilot. So it's like just a Play Store, and this is one of the apps. Or in this case, they say it's an extension. So you can. So in my case, I've like already installed it. So once it's installed, it's going to show you this link over here. I hope it's all visible. Yeah. And then this will give you like a window like on your right side where you can select the mode, like for example, agent, ask, or edit, and then you can type like what you want to build. So for example, So to start with, like Visual Studio, first we are going to open a folder. So for example, in this case, let's say I'm saying it's a test code 5. Okay, and let's say let's go to the agent function. Uh, so the models like that are currently available within the okay. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Okay. Uh, so once like your extension is enabled from here, and then you can like install other extensions as well. For example, if you're working in C++, you can do it. If you're working in Python, you can do it, and bunch of like other AI tools as well that can help you like with your coding and programming. So for example, over here I've selected like the functionality of agent, and then over here you can see like look at all the models that are available. So if you're like using a free version, so you will see like some of the models will be disabled. So currently, like I'm like on the education plan, which is free for 2 years for the time being. So I can like look at like all the powerful models. Like for example, over here like the OpenAI models, even like GPT-5, and then the Claude's Sonnet as well. Like for example, the recent one, Sonnet 4, and then Gemini as well. So for example, we say we're going to use GPT-5. You can like use whichever the like model you're comfortable with. So for example, we say, please build a calculator app in Python and put it live on localhost. So again, you can like design your prompt, or like there are various ways you can do it. So for example, you can work on your prompt like separately, and then you can put the context like in a file as well. So you see, I've just provided a simple prompt like please build a calculator app in Python and put it live on localhost. So the agent has started all the work, and like shortly you will see like it has created like different files and uh, stuff. So there were like no files before. Now it started to actually write those files, and then started to like incorporate the different like for example code lines as well, depending upon the application. So it will show you like which is working, and then for example, if some approval is required, so the agent can ask you. So you can limit like the functionality, for example, the things like you're comfortable with and things you're not comfortable with. So because actually it's a co-pilot, so you are the main like pilot in all this scenario. So you can decide, okay, how are you going to build your system. So right now I'm not doing anything. Agent is doing everything from writing different like files, or the code structure within the app, like what are the required files, and then how can like the whole functionality is going to work. So for example, if we're building like let's say a simple calculator, I think that would be easy. But we're saying it build a calculator but put it like live as well. So for example, localhost means like it can open like in a browser, and then you can use it like, and then if you like have a domain, you can like let's say maybe link it like with your domain. Like so for example, if I domain calculator.com, I can link it like with that domain as well. So then it will be like available globally, anyone can use it. So currently it's working based on like the basic prompt we have provided, and then uh, so in some cases it takes time, depends on the application, but I think it's very like convenient, and you can like in the meantime like you can like you do like your other stuff. For example, if you're reading something, and then later on you can come back to it, and then look at like the code it has written. So I think Dr. Irfan wants to say something. Yes. Obasab, I think you can open the mic for Dr. Irfan.
Can you hear me, Professor?
Yes, I can hear you.
Well, first of all, thank you very much, Doctor, for giving us an opportunity for an interesting talks. It's an honor to be here.
Thank you.
First of all, second of all, excuse my ignorance regarding the data engineering. I'm not very well aware of your terms. I thought that I could ask questions since your agent is working. This could be a right time to ask some questions. My first question is, what is local host? My second question, I know you can answer in one go. The second question is, once this app is developed, how it's going to function and who will be the owner of this app by law, or by who will have the intellectual property rights for this one? Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Irfan, again for attending this session. It's an honor to have you with us. So first question, local host means, like, for example, if you, let's say, developing a system, for example, if you say like a domain, for example, if you have like your own domain, let's say irfan.com, and so anyone can type that and then can have a look. But if you're, for example, in the development phase and you want to test something, so obviously you want to first do it like on your machine, like on your server, and just to see like how it will work, like when it is like live fully, like on the web. So local host means, like, for example, you can specify. So we have like a bunch of like ports within like our system, and then you can specify, for example, uh, I'm going to host this app like on this local host, and then you can specify the port. What it does, which means like you can just, so it will, for example, if we say, let's say, google.com, so on the back side there's an IP for that. Although like we see just the text, like say google.com, but on the back side there's an IP which connects like you to like that Google server anywhere in the world, let's say in Singapore or elsewhere. So again, the idea of the local host is it will give you like a URL in the form of, like, let's say an IP. Let's say in some cases it's 127.0.0.1 and slash port. And then you can just click on it, and then it's going to open your function or whatever system you have built in your browser, let's say in your Chrome browser. And then you can interact with all the functions. For example, we're just going to see shortly, like, for example, the app we're building in Python. We can interact with the app. For example, if, let's say, the app, the calculator can do plus minus, can multiply. And then, for example, if you want to add other functionalities, for example, you want to extend it, like, let's say you want to add trigonometric functions, like you want to calculate sine, cosine, and other functions. So you can do like all your development inside your code, and then you can push it like to localhost first. See, for example, like it's like a development cycle. And then you can see, for example, in the next iteration, your app will develop. So obviously you don't want to like do all the development live, like, let's say, for example, if your app is alive on the web and you're doing all the development. So it's like development and production. So once you can like do your development on the local host, where only you can see everything what you're doing, nobody else like on the web has access to like your local host. It's your stuff, only you can see into your browser, whatever it is, Mozilla, Chrome, or Microsoft Edge. And then you can link it with, again, with the help of agent, and there are like other ways for that. For example, for that you have to first to have a domain, and then you have to have the hosting rights as well. and then you can like link it. There are like various options, like for example there's a Versal app that helps you to integrate like your local host app into a live web app, where anyone can go to a link, for example irfan.com, and then they can have access to your stuff. For example, if you have built bunch of apps, so they can use it. And then similarly, in the backend, you can do all the development stuff into your local host, and then you can push all those changes gradually, like to the web. So, for example, on different websites, we say, for example, the website is under maintenance, like normally on the weekends. So, what they're doing, so they're testing it like on the local host, like during the week, and then once they see, okay, all the tests are working, all the different like features they have added into their, let's say, app or web, they're functioning like as intended, so they can say, okay, now we put it into the production. So they can now push the changes, all those changes into the web, and now all the like the users, if it is open, anyone can see it, or if it is like through a login credentials, so they can like put like, for example, if you're working in a university, only you can like access it using your university credentials. So the local host is just like a local thing for the testing. Your second question is a very good question. In terms of like the intellectual property, I think it's debatable, because in terms of like the models, so they are not saying like they own the like the code. Again, for example, because LLMs are again trained like on the data that was already available on the web. So, for example, in case of GitHub Copilot, as we have seen, like it is trained on like billions of lines of code, and it was like the other researchers' code, like it has used, because they have hosted their repositories on GitHub. And on the basis of that, now it has developed like a functionality, or you can say capabilities, where it can reason, it can look at like, for example, a prompt, and then started designing a system. So I think in terms of like the ownership, if you are building a system, like for example using a let's say a model, let's say ChatGPT, or like for example in this case we're using GPT-5. So I think you own the code, because you are accessing the system. But again, I think from a legal point of view, I think it would be better to look at like the terms and conditions of like the OpenAI, specifically for the users. Like for example, if we develop something using GPT-5 or like GPT models, who owns the access? But again, like I've seen like what people are doing, they're just like building stuff, and then they're saying like this is their model. And I think that is the like the normal practice these days. So I think you don't have to worry, because you have developed the code, and then again you can put your like give your input as well. But I get your point, because we are from academia, and it's very important like to have this like integrity check. For example, if you're writing a paper and then you have used the help right from GPT-5, so I think again we have to look at like the, let's say, university regulations. Or for example, if a journal has some specific requirements, or like they have said, okay, if you have used help like from the GPT model, you can specify it as like a co-author, or you can like just, yeah. But again, it depends like on the context and the scenario. I hope it clarifies your query. Yeah, I think it's still working. I think it was taking a bit of a time. Maybe we can retry it. like we can start with like a basic prompt. We say, okay, we can just have a look at the basic functionality, and then we can put it like on localhost. Okay, we don't want to do that. So it gives you like the Visual Studio Code. Like, so over here you can look at like the body of the code, and then over here like all the files that are going to be available with your app, and then this is the terminal where you can like just put it everything on. So for example, if we So again, to use that, like you have to have like an active internet connection, because it's going to connect you like with the model, like on which is hosted again on OpenAI servers. So it's very important, like you again first sign up like using your GitHub credentials, and then if your like subscription is active, it's going to activate everything inside your studio code. So the local host will look something like this, since it's not like it's not functional yet. But if the app is active, so it's going to host it like on this URL. We can try it again. What I'm going to do, I can close this folder, and let's say we can say we can create another folder. Let's say test code 6. And we can say create a simple calculator app with the GUI. So it takes some time for the GitHub to like Copilot to get ready, and once it's done, you can like select the models over here. If you can look at my, yeah, over here. So for example, in this case, let's say we can use one of the like the Claude's model, and we say so for the prompt, like I always found like if you are like simple in your prompt instructions, uh, and you say like please, thank you, so it's very helpful like for the model to give you uh, the required answer or the required functionality. Yeah, so it can be like hectic or cumbersome like at times, because you're like talking in your natural language. So it's all about like patience, but you can like look at like different prompt engineering techniques as well, how to get the most out of like these models. Again, it's like a learning curve, but you can slowly like build like some techniques through which you can like quickly like make use of like these models like in a better way. Yes, Dr. Irfan, I think you can open your mic and ask a question.
Yeah, thanks. Again, I thought it's a good use of time. Um, so what I was wondering, GitHub could be used for sharing the codes and looking at the other people's code, such as for some person or one person has applied some sort of machine learning algorithms to find out what are the real causes or causal inferences between heart attack and income, being an economist, excuse my question, but if there is some sort of causal inference that is established in somebody else's codes, is it possible to look at their codes, and is it possible to share the codes to edit their codes, or ask the Copilot to edit our codes?
Yep.
Was it clear enough? No. Yes.
Yeah, I think I got your question. Yeah, it's a very good question. So the idea is, as first you have to see whether, like for example, if you're looking at a research study where they have done this causal, like let's say, analysis, and you can look at like the code first. Like for example, if it is written like say in R or Stata, and then so okay, just to so over here, like it's asking for my permission to run the app. So I can say, okay, let's run it. So coming back to your question, so in that case, first you can look at like the code, like because you are the expert in that domain, and you can see, okay, I've understood like what they have done in their paper, and now I want to implement the similar thing. So if they have provided the code, I think that's a very good start. All you can do is to first you can check as a researcher like the whole code, what they have done. I think it will take you some time, but then you can understand where they have like implemented different functionalities. And then you can dump all the code inside, like say GitHub Copilot, and you can provide like the whole code repository. And then you can say, okay, this is the paper, this is the PDF file of the research paper. They have done this thing, and these are the files, and you can compile it. And then we want to extend this code, or we want like a different functionality, but on the similar pattern. And then I hope like the Copilot can look at like the code files. Obviously, there are like some issues like with the memory or with the context window, like how much code or how much information you can put it like inside these models. And this is like an ongoing problem. So for example, if you put more information inside like these models, they break or they don't function as intended. So I think those are the areas like where people are still working how to extend that window, and then they're working like on different rack systems and model control, like context protocols as well. But again, like for a simple functionality, if you want to test it out, how the GitHub Copilot, let's say for example, can help you again start like let's say own your journey. And for example, if they have done those causal like inference, like for let's say for heart, and you want to do it like for some other, let's say for poverty or like some other indicators, I think you can like just play with it. And again, it's just like an iteration. There's like no like a concrete answer for that. It's just going to be hit and trial, and then as a researcher, it will be like your responsibility. For example, if you want to say, okay, but it can give you like a good starting point in terms of like understanding the different code files, and then like the whole functionality of let's say a code like they provided in the research paper. Yeah, so in that case, so Microsoft, they have developed a Copilot app for everything. For example, if you're using Outlook, you can take help like from Microsoft's Copilot app in your Outlook. For example, if you don't want to, like for example, if you receive like thousands of emails on each day and you don't want to look at like all those emails, you can ask the Copilot, make a summary of all these emails, whether they're promotional or they are the actual emails where they want like your input. So you have that Copilot option inside the Microsoft app. You can use it. For the GitHub Copilot is specifically like for the coding tasks. So they have trained it like for that specific use. If you are like using like for other tasks, so you can go to Microsoft Copilot. So they have like their URL as well, and you can just play it, and that is going to work like for your intended use. So for example, if you're writing something, let's say you're working on your novel or some book, and I think GitHub Copilot will not be that because it is specifically like for coding tasks. And obviously it can help you, but I don't think so like it will give you like the proper answer, or because it's not trained for that particular thing. So for example, I hope it works. So we still have around 10 to 15 minutes, and then I can show you. Other than that, you have this terminal option where you can, like, let's say for example, if you want to run a code, you can just specify like your command. I want to run this file, so you can do it. And then there's another option is, so for example, once you have written your code and you want to push all those things like into your GitHub, so you can do it like inside the Visual Studio Code as well. So for example, in my case, when I was testing, so if I go to my GitHub, so the good thing about GitHub is like the journal, like previously it was like whatever, like for example, if you're like on a free version, whatever the code you're going to put to or push to GitHub, it's going to be like public. But since when the Microsoft bought it, so they have like introduced this option as well, where you can like make private your repositories. Only you can have a look, and then once you feel like everything is ready, and then you can make it public. Otherwise, it's private and only you can have a look. So for example, if I go to my profile, so you're going to see like a bunch of repositories I've worked like in the past. So and some of them you can see, for example, this was the work like I did during my studies. So this is public. And then if you go to like the other repositories, for example, let's say test code 3, so this is all private. I think I haven't pushed anything in that, but I can, let's say, go to, let's say, test code 2 or 3. For example, over here. Yeah. So what I did, I took help like from the GitHub like Copilot agent to like, I haven't done like any coding in these files. So it like the agent created all these files, and then I said, okay, push everything to GitHub. So yeah, so we can. Yeah, I hope it's going to work. Yeah. So our calculator is ready, and it's hosted like on this local host and on 5,000 port. And you can like specify the port, whichever is available. You can take help. And now we can just like play with it. Let's say we say 2 into 2, it's 4. We can say 23 divided by, let's say, 5. That's 4.6. So it's like a very basic calculator, but you can expand it. This is like your in for example in startup culture, like they say MVP, like the viable product, minimum viable product, which is ready. And then it's up to you whether you want to put like trigonometric functionality inside it. You want to add like other bunch of functions, or you can like say log or other things. Like it depends on you. But that gives you like a good head start, and now you have access to like all of your codes over here. And then you can like just put everything, like push everything into your GitHub repository, and then it's going to like show up over here. So for example, if you're working in a team, you can give access to like your private repository to your team members as well. So only the team members can have a look and they can make changes. So for example, if you are working in different time zones, so you can like collaborate easily. So you don't have to wait for the other person to show up, and so you can start working. You can work on your own time, and then you can push everything to GitHub, and then they can like, once they are like available, they can come and they can have a look, and they can like start making like those changes as well. So you can do like everything. So So all the like this README file as well. So for example, I was working on a, like let's say meeting scheduling system, for example, for our department, where we can put different options like to all the faculty members, and then the majority wins. So for example, if we are about to schedule let's say meeting on Friday at 10 a.m. and for example, if 10 of the like the faculty members they decide okay 10 a.m. is suitable, so we go for it, and then it can send like an automatic notification or email or WhatsApp to all the faculty members like there will be a meeting at 10 a.m. on Friday. So, and then once you feel like your system is ready, and then you can like make it public as well, and you can change the access or like it's a setting. But over here, that gives you like an option. So again, this is all free. We are not like utilizing any art resources. We only like need like an internet connection, and then everything is free. You can like, so these are all like private repositories. If you're going to visit my profile on GitHub, you're not going to it will be not visible to you, but you can like look at like the different public ones that I've like worked on. So I hope it all makes sense. So now our calculator is ready. We can go back to our agent, and then we can say, so that gives you like a functionality inside your like code editor as well. And then you can like say, let's say go to your like local host. You can just click or copy the URL and then put it in your browser. And we say, let's say, again, this is very basic. So for example, if you're like expert in that, maybe you could say, oh, okay, this is very like doable. But again, this session was like for those people who are not like familiar with GitHub and version control, and then the GitHub Copilot and how to get started. Obviously, you can add a context, and you can, for example, add different like, so you can connect your database and all sort of like other functions. But that gives you like a good head start where you can just like break the ice and start working right away. So we can say thanks, and can you add a sign function, let's say. So again, it's like a natural language prompt. You can give a bunch of prompts, and if it is doable, it will tell you, and then again you will see it will highlight like the changes it started to make. So it can like make changes like in multiple files at the same time, and you can then review those changes and get the job done. Yes, Subasa, you want to ask anything? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it depends like on your context and the type of like problem you're going to solve. For example, if you have trained like your machine learning models, I think you can add the weights, like you can like copy the weights like from your model, and then you can put it like and give it to Copilot and say, okay, we have already trained our models, and now this is the test data, for example, a new information. How would you perceive like, or you will test like this information on that models? Otherwise, what you can do, you can just provide the, let's say, for example, a test code, and then again, it depends. Like you have to tell the code, it has to train on that information again. I think it can train, and then because these are like, for example, if we talk about, let's say, a GPT-5, so they're like billion parameters, like, so there's so much information, so much context, and then I think for our like basic data analysis, it's just like, I think it's a child's play for them. Just to look at the information, but again, it will be again context specific. I'm not saying like they are perfect. They can make mistakes. For example, if we say how many R's are like in strawberry, which is a very simple question, and sometimes the model gets confused and it gives you like there are 3 R's and something like that. So, but again, you in your prompt you can specify all those like test cases, and then if you are like specific and you're very clear in your prompt, and you again for an MVP, I think it would be like a better, like you can just start like with a basic prompt, and then gradually you can see, okay, how your like for example Copilot is evolving, rather than you give like a complicated prompt at the very start, and then obviously it's going to take like so much time. For example, in this case, it took like a while to actually build like a simple app, calculator app. So if we would have been like a very, like for example, when you change the prompt, like just build a calculator app, don't put it anywhere like on localhost or anywhere. It built it quickly, and then I said, okay, put it on localhost. So I think the step-by-step approach would be better for these models. And then as a pilot, so for example, it will be your responsibility. It's not like you can blindly trust, okay, the GPT model has done this thing, so it's going to be perfect. So I think as a researcher, or as a for example, as a reasonable like user of these models, I think it will be our responsibility to look at the code. So for example, if you're like working on a sensitive application, so for example, if you have built, let's say, an app where you're collecting the user information, so then you have to be very careful. For example, the user information don't get leaked, like for example on web, because they're like cybersecurity issues. So again, that's why they say like the vibe coding and this sort of stuff. So it's, the adaptability is still like, I mean, the people are like skeptical about it, like maybe 1%, 2%. So people are saying, okay, but what is the like the downside of it? So for example, if we don't know who have written this code and what's happening inside it, so then who is going to be responsible at the end of the day? So for example, if your information gets like leaked, if your database is like available, let's say on web for free, so who's going to be responsible? People are going to sue you. For example, if you're working actually in a hospital and you have developed a system. So again, but the idea is the things will evolve. It's not like you can just like deny this thing, like this is not happening. It's happening. So for example, if you look at like the recent post of Professor Andrew Ng, who's at Stanford, so he was saying the same thing, like before 2022 people were coding and programming in a different way. Afterwards, when this ChatGPT model came, the style of working has changed like dramatically. And even if you look at like the recent like layoffs, like in big organizations like in Microsoft, Google, so for junior level roles, like so they're relying on these tools, and but they have like the experts in their system as well, who can review the code, who can approve the changes, and then if something happens, so for example, these co-pilots, maybe they can be very useful, for example, for let's say a basic calculator app, because it's not complicated. It's just one file structure. You are not adding any functionality. But if your system, if you're building, let's say, a big system, for example, at a university level, you're developing something, let's say like an inventory control system. So now, like they're going to be like thousands and let's say like iterations, or let's say entries like in a single day. So your system has to be like, so you need like expert people who knows like how databases works, how you can index the value. For example, people are going to search information, and if your system is not optimized for those kind of things, I think it's going to disappoint the users. But you can again, as a start, you can take help, and then sort of like you can again, that's why it's a co-pilot. You are the main one, like who's going to make the decision. I think that's a good thing. Yeah, I hope it answers. I'm just going to show. Let's see. Yeah. So for the next iteration, we said, okay, we have the simple calculator. If we can have the sign, so let's say we can say. Yeah, sign of 90 is one. Yeah, so it's working. But again, we can make it like more interactive. When we say sign, so it should display the sign as well, so we know like it's working. So when we click, it's actually working, but it's not showing. But again, as a like a simple minimum viable example, I think that's okay. And you can then reset it, and you can say the 6 plus 6 into 6 is 36, and then it's 108, I guess. Yeah. So that is all. I just want to conclude it like on the final thoughts. Again, thank you very much, everyone, for coming along. It's an honor to have you all of you like in this session. Again, for me, again, it's a learning experience, but we can do like more of these things. the things like I'm doing, I'm iterating, and then again, if you want to like collaborate on something, you have like my email address. You can write to me, and then we can discuss. Again, on the final thoughts, it's your responsibility. It's not like you can say, okay, the LLM model has written the code. It's like it's their responsibility. It's your responsibility because you are using it. So you have to ensure like the application or the type of stuff you are developing, you have to take the responsibility. And then obviously it's going to take time, but again, you can have different guardrails inside your system, and that comes like under the system design. Again, for a start, iteration and experimentation is the way forward. Just do it, experiment it. For a start, you can like create your account on GitHub. If you don't have one, apply for the GitHub Education, have the pro access, like let's say for 2 years. I think that's a good start. Even if you don't have like the GitHub Education, you can use like a bunch of free models like inside the Visual Studio Code as well. So it's not like these are like the ones that are available in the pro version, but they are like a bunch of free ones is available as well. So if you don't have the access, you don't have the credentials like from a university, you can just start working like on the free ones, and they're fine as well. And then again, if you're like, for example, building a system, so end-to-end system development will help you like how your system will look like as a final product. So for example, if you're working on a scheduling system, you're working on an inventory system, or for example, if you're working, let's say, on some specific analysis, and from problem to the final solution, I think if you go through like all the steps, that will give you the confidence. Okay, I can build a system with the help of this. And we can conclude like the recent quote from the former CEO of IBM. So she was of the view like AI will not replace humans, but those who will use AI will replace those who don't. So I think it's a matter of time we like start to take like seriously like these models. Even when I look at like my students, so they are like way ahead like in these tools, for example. So as as faculty members like inside academia, I think we have to like brush up like our skills. We can't just say, okay, the stuff we have like studied, let's say 10 years ago, that's relevant. I think that is relevant as well, but again, we have to make an effort to understand and learn these concepts as well. So that will be like useful like in our teaching, and again, that will help us like to become like a better human being. That is all from my side. If you have any questions, I think you can email. We're running out of time. Thanks again, Ubed, and everyone. Allah Hafiz.